longtime member of the Fantasy Football for Winners community, Ray Vaught, recently posted a question on the page. I think he's been in the community for at least 8 years. Believe it or not, like a lot of these folks, I don't know you, but when I see your name, it's like there's a personality attached, just based on questions you ask, how you engage. Everyone engages nicely, but it's kind of cool. So it's like I see Ray Vaught and I'm like, oh yeah, it's Ray. Um, and he says, what are your thoughts on Jacory Croskey-Merritt? He said, I'm reading, he's climbing up the depth chart. In your opinion, could he carve out a meaningful role? Thanks. So, it's not, could he carve out a meaningful role? And the easy answer is yes, obviously. Like any rookie at this point, because there's so many unknowns, could carve out a meaningful role. He would have to leapfrog some folks on the depth chart. Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, and Chris Rodriguez, and I guess Jeremy McNichols, if he's still the number four. I mean, they'll probably carry, I'm guessing, four running backs when it all starts, maybe three, but probably four, one would assume. And yeah, the rookie has a good shot. But I didn't want to just give an answer that was, yeah, he looks good kind of thing, because there's no value in that. There's nothing that I can bring to the table about Jacory Croskey-Merritt that someone else can't just look up on their own. So that's why I have spreadsheets. That's a value add that I try to provide to the community. I share a lot from my spreadsheets. I have often thought that I could sell my spreadsheets if people wanted to use them. I say this sincerely, and I think those of you listening to this hopefully understand that I'm sincere about all this stuff. It's really valuable stuff. It's a lot of data entry, a lot of historical data, and it answers questions that otherwise could not be easily answered. And when I say answer questions, it answers questions in ways that allow us to be highly confident in the answer. Where it's not a 50-50, it's like an 80-20 or a 90-10. So, I mentioned, I think in the first podcast or the second or third, Christian McCaffrey. I was so confident that Christian McCaffrey was going to get seriously injured or seriously regress or both last season based on historical data that showed that 92% of all 27 plus year olds who were coming off 400 plus touch seasons regressed the next season. And often the regression was huge. So I could say, oh yeah, Christian McCaffrey, he got a lot of work, but he looks all right in June, maybe. But no, the data was the data. And so I talked about it through the lens of the data and then tried to assess how confident we should be in the data. So I have this other spreadsheet and I answered Ray's question using this other spreadsheet. And this spreadsheet I think might be one of my most valuable spreadsheets. And it came about because of the Christian McCaffrey phenomenon 6 years ago. And this idea of, wait a second, do running backs with really heavy workloads, do they like flop the next season? How does that work? Can we assign numbers to it and probabilities? And I decided to go back and look at college players, who enter the pros. What kind of volume do they get, those running backs, in college? And then how does that help inform probabilities in terms of output as pros? For example, someone who has, over 1,000 touches in a season in the in a career in college, what happens to them in the pros? And actually, just so you all know, if college players who have over 1,000 touches who are drafted generally have very short careers, if at all. There are exceptions, and Austin Eckler, Commanders, still holding on, is one of those exceptions. He also, interestingly, had a very evenly distributed array of touches. So he had demonstrated that he could handle 300 plus touches. And it wasn't just like he did it once and then moves on. He had over 1,000 touches in his career. He topped out at 336. He was a regular heavy volume guy. He was used to that. That doesn't mean that he was going to stay good. Justin Jackson, a former 7th-round pick. Eckler was a undrafted free agent. Jackson, 7th-round pick, had 1,264 college touches. I think it was like the most of the last 25 years or roughly. Evenly distributed. I really liked him coming out of college. Interestingly, also with the Chargers, just like Eckler. And he was pretty good, given that he was a 7th-rounder, but never really broke through. And he was done after a few years. He never cracked, I think, the top 50 at any time. But that's a modest success story for a 7th-rounder. Now, Jacory Croskey-Merritt, the 7th-round pick for the Commanders, I looked through my spreadsheet at all the 7th-round picks that had ever, since 2002, who've been drafted or signed to play in the NFL. And signed to play means they got at least into one game. That's kind of the rule for undrafted free agents. They have to have played one game. And what the spreadsheet shows is of all the 7th-round picks, the average rookie campaign finish that they had was the 123rd most running back fantasy points. That is their average finish. That does not include all the 7th-rounders who didn't even play in a game. Those I just have as a blank slot, which means they don't count towards the average. But at the same time, man, I mean, you get a bunch of 7th-round picks. Some never play. Some play a little. It's sometimes hard to predict. If it was easy to predict, then the 7th-rounders who never played in the game wouldn't have been drafted. So the best 7th-round rookie campaign was 37th best. Now, what's really interesting about that to me is that even undrafted free agents have a better rookie average than 7th-rounders. Like I said, 7th-rounders, 123rd ranked running back rookie campaign is the average. For undrafted free agents, it's 115th. And then for 6th-rounders, it's 112th, and it keeps moving up each round until you get to 1st-rounders. Their average rookie campaign is 39th. Some of that is due to injuries. A rookie running back getting hurt. Some of it is due to the kind of situation they enter into. Sometimes even a 1st-rounder is in a bit of a timeshare before they break through. So 39th doesn't tell the whole story, but what does tell an interesting story is that the progression is consistent. If rounds didn't matter and talent was not reflected in rounds, then we wouldn't see that kind of progression. The interesting thing about that is that the 7th-rounders are worse than undrafted free agents. Same is true for best rookie campaign. 7th-rounders, like I said, 37th ranked was the best. Every other round has had at least one rookie finish in the top 13. And the 1st and 2nd round picks, at least one rookie from each of those groups has finished at number 2 overall. 7th-rounders are the riskiest running backs to draft in a fantasy draft. That includes rookie fantasy draft. That includes 7th-round rookie in a regular redraft league. Whatever it is, I don't care what the hype you're hearing. It's 7th-rounders on balance do worse. And it's not just slightly worse. The chance of getting a 7th-rounder and starting him as a rookie, as a weekly starter, based on historical numbers, is 0%. Every other round plus undrafted free agent is something higher than 0%. And in some cases, it's pretty high for 1st and 2nd rounders. That's why these spreadsheets matter. That's why doing the research matters. It's not just what we see on TV. It's not just what some reporter says about Croskey-Merritt, moving nimbly or whatever it is that people want to say. Not that I said that. But this is a guy who's 24 years old, 24-year-old rookie running back is never a good sign in terms of longevity. And it generally indicates that uh, commanders are looking for a relatively short-term play. He's going to play out. If he makes the team, he plays out a contract, and that's probably the end for most seventh rounders. But at 24 years old, he is not the future, and the chance of him breaking through and actually having a useful fantasy season is practically 0%. So I would fade him regardless of what people say, barring some massive rash of injuries to everyone else on that team. And again, trust the data, trust the research. Don't just trust what you read. PJ Riddell, Fantasy Football for Winners. Follow on the blog, Facebook. Read comments from Ray and all sorts of people. And we'll see you tomorrow.